Hi everyone, today we're going to be building Metal Earth's 1937 Ford pickup. This is going to be a 2-sheet model with color finish already on the sheet itself. And I do want to apologize ahead of time for this video because you will see that a lot of parts were actually skipped, and what they were the individual parts that you have to either bend or fold into like a box or like a cylinder shape. The reason for that actually was because while I was working the video, since I'm recording it and building at the same time, it was hard to see where I was actually recording, and a lot of it was actually off the camera or to the corner, so it was really hard to see anything useful that it was kind of frustrating to watch. So I actually ended up deleting a lot of those clips. So I tried my best to show at least the steps using the instruction manuals. So just please bear with me with this video, and I'm still trying to get used to trying to record the video properly. So luckily a lot of these small parts are just kind of 90-degree folds down. So as you can see here, on the top left corner you're going to see the part B2, and that one you just kind of fold each edge down at a 90-degree angle until it looks kind of like a box with a chamfered corner. Half cylinder on the bottom of the middle left instructional manual, that I just used kind of like a small rod, like a thin rod, and kind of wrapped it around to create like a half cylinder. So this part you're actually supposed to put on the B6 part first, according to the manual, but I actually ended up doing it afterwards on the second part, and I didn't actually have any problems putting it in. So I don't think it will matter which order. It's just supposed to be a little bit easier if you put on the B6 part first. The next series of parts are actually just small bends, so you're either making like a box or like a U-shaped channel by just kind of rotating or actually bending it 90 degrees. So if you have a really small tip plier, it will actually be best to actually bend the parts because they will get pretty narrow. And then after you make the shapes, you just attach it to the undercarriage of the car. When dealing with multiple tabs you have to put in through multiple places in the holes, what I like doing is just trying to align 1 or 2 tabs and then kind of bending it in, and so securing it one by one instead of trying to put all the pieces in at the same time. So for the front and the back bumper, you're actually going to fold into a U shape, and then you're going to be bending the middle edges down kind of like a curve to follow the line of the bumper itself. So for the tire, this whole part of the video was actually not recorded by accident, but the first part is that you're going to take the plate and you're going to make it into kind of a beveled shape. And then the second part is that you're going to be creating a dome with the silver piece. And then with the black strips, you're going to be making it into pretty much a circle to make the side of the wheels. And then you're going to put it all together one by one, just follow the instructional manuals to create 5 wheels total. It doesn't matter which wheel you use because all 5 tires are actually going to be identical. Some of the other models sometimes have a different tire for the front and back, but in this case they are all the same identical parts. So we're going to be putting on the back plate of each tire, and then we're going to be adding the tires onto those plates so that you can finish off the tire onto the body itself. For the actual lights, it's going to actually be a cone shape, so if you're just using a round tip plier, you can actually create a cone shape, and then you're just going to be bending the rest in 90-degree angles to create your headlights. You're going to see later a more descriptive version of this, but it's actually easier to bend the curvature first, then bend it over 90 degrees instead of like the manual shows where it actually wants you to bend it 90 degrees first, then curve the wheel top. But if you actually curve the strip first, it's actually easier to curve it because you're not getting in the way of the 90-degree bend. So if you do that first and then just bend it to kind of meet the shape, it's actually a lot easier. So just a little thing about these instructional manuals is that sometimes it's not best to follow the exact step of the instructions. Try to look ahead to see if it makes sense to sometimes maybe put some of the orders in a different order and maybe doing a later step first, just to make the sequencing a little bit better. Just a reminder that when you're working on these colored models, it's actually best to use kind of a plier that has a very straight or smooth edge, because there are some that are serrated which will actually scrape off all the paint or scratch the surface. So you would probably want to use a plier that has a very smooth edge. For the backup tire, it's going to be the same where you're putting on a plate, but before you add it onto the plate will actually get kind of like a column, kind of just like a rectangular piece that you're going to add onto it, and then you're going to finish it off just like the other 4 tires that you did. My only tip for the body is actually, it looks very daunting, but just work the curvature slowly a little bit at a time until you kind of get the shapes. Sometimes I just use my hands because I can actually kind of work it a little bit more accurately with just my hands. You can use the end of an X-Acto knife, or if you have like a dapping tool or any cylindrical shape, you can use that also. But just slowly work it in, kind of starting with the middle and bending it down, and then try to work on the sides afterwards. Just to note that this piece, you're actually going to be bending it in 2 different lateral directions. You're actually going to do the long side and the short side. And don't worry about getting the perfect shape right away, because as you're trying to work it into the body, you might be bending it and trying to reshape it so that it actually fits onto the body itself. My tip for the headlights for the front is actually to use like a dapping block end where there's a spear end, and you can actually work on the cone shape, or actually sorry, the dome shape first, and then bend everything else afterwards, because the cone shape will actually be harder to do if you get all the other pieces bent first. So this front grille is actually a little bit more harder than I thought it would be, but you just have to work and be very patient with it and keep reshaping the grille until it kind of fits perfectly into the front of the body itself. For the top of the car, what I actually ended up doing was, you're supposed to actually curve the front of the car, like where the windshield would be, but I actually left it straight for now because I knew that I was actually gonna have to put it onto the body, and then curve it in afterwards, so there's no point in overworking the metal ahead of time. So I actually ended up just keeping it straight until right about this point here that you're going to see soon, where I would actually start bending the front so they can actually shape into the shape of the body itself. Another tip for attaching the top to the body is actually just work one tab at a time. Don't try to get all the pieces in, just because it will be a lot easier just securing in one tab at a time and just being very patient with it. Again, when you're attaching the body to the undercarriage, just work at one tab at a time. You know, just take your time. You don't have to get every one of them in before you start attaching it and bending the tabs. Just work one at a time, and by eventually you will actually get all of them done, and all of them will be in place. As we were putting the bed of the truck on, I just also wanted to mention one more time, I actually apologize for skipping a lot of the smaller pieces. It wasn't intentional, it was just more that it was a really bad recording this time where I was off the camera a lot, and just me watching it while editing was actually frustrating because I couldn't really see what was going on, so I can only imagine how you guys would feel if you watched that part. So I decided to just forego a lot of those areas for this video itself. I really like how the finished model came out. It looks very vintage, you know, it's a very classic Ford pickup truck from 1937, and I really do like the red and black color of this truck. It just adds a really nice kind of, not homey, but I would want to say like a warm feeling to this car. You know, it would actually look very nice on a bookshelf or any shelf, you know, especially if you like kind of collecting antique models and stuff like that. I think it will blend in very nicely. And thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you do, please hit that subscribe button or the like button for the video, and so that you can be updated when I upload new videos on any model builds.